Hey BookTube, welcome back to the History Shelf. My name is Peg. Happy Friday. It's been a week. And I thought, you know what? Let's have a fun video. We haven't had a book haul video in a while. And I haven't shown you guys these books since I purchased them months ago. So it's time to get them on the shelves and get this stack of boxes processed on this channel. These are books that I bought on my own whimsy, because you know I love me some HamiltonBook.com. It's my favorite bargain book hunting website. I've spent thousands there over the years, and I am scaling back my purchasing, but these were purchased way before I decided to start getting more of what I have on the shelves read before I buy more books. Not to say I won't ever, buy new books, because of course I will, but not to the extent that I was kind of going crazy there for a while. Anyway, guys, so this is a straight up history book haul. I took out some of the fiction titles that I bought in this purchase, or this last order, just so that we could stick with just straight history. So let's just dive right in, shall we? Love HamiltonBook.com. All right, so this is a fairly new book, and it's from Yale University Press, came out in 2021. And this is The Popes Against the Protestants, the Vatican and Evangelical Christianity in Fascist Italy by Kevin Madigan. Yeah. I should say something, too, about the lighting. We're having some really weird, hazy, kind of not dark, cloudy, but definitely not clear skies. I have tried shutting these blinds different ways, and I just thought, you know what? This is like a heavenly aura light that's coming in here, so I'm just going to let it be. It's normally not, it doesn't look like that normally in here. So I'm just like taking it as a sign. Plus, I was just unwinding this morning, finishing up my work day. I work half days on Friday. Listening to some Gregorian chants that are sung by nuns, and it is beautiful. I might link that below if you want to if you're curious to know what things I listen to sometimes when I'm working. This one is really soothing. The melancholy echoes of nuns singing Gregorian chants. It'll do you right, do you some good. Also, personal note, it's been a long week here. Poor Martine has had food poisoning since Monday, and she has been sicker than a dog. She's starting to feel, I think, better, but she really hasn't eaten anything. And I'm talking a little low because she's in the guest room next door to this office, and she is trying to get some much-needed sleep. So all of your well wishes and prayers for quick healing are much appreciated for Martine. Thank you. I'll just say that right now. Yeah, so it's been a crazy week. Just we got Boomer over here. He's got a little bump on his shoulder that I think it just opened. Schnauzers get lumps. They get little skin tags. They get a bunch of different things, and he's already had one removed from his other shoulder, but this one, it just kind of started suppurating the other day. Not big time, but little weeping, and he just keeps licking it. And I've tried putting the cone on his head, and he's not having it. So I finally got him to stop licking it right before this video, and he's deaf. So I'm over here like whistling, clapping, probably waking Martine up next door. It's just one of those things. Okay, so let's get back to the books. The Popes Against the Protestants. Based on previously undisclosed archival materials, this book tells the fascinating, untold, and troubling story of an anti-Protestant campaign in Italy that lasted longer, consumed more clerical energy and cultural space, and generated far more literature than the war against Italy's Jewish population. This is fascinating. Because clerical leaders in Rome were seeking to build a new Catholic world in the aftermath of the Great War, Protestants embodied a special menace and were seen as carriers of dangers like heresy, secularism, modernity, and Americanism. as potent threats to the Catholic precepts that were the true foundations of Italian civilization, values, and culture. The Pope and cardinals framed the threat of evangelical Christianity as a peril not only to the Catholic Church, but to the fascist government as well, recruiting some very powerful fascist officials to their cause. This important book is the first full account of this dangerous alliance. And it's the first I've heard of this. So this should be really interesting. You know me, I love books on religion, just the different traditions within Christianity. I've read a lot about Catholic history and popes, but I'm always looking to learn more, especially in communication, or in this case, in opposition to Protestantism. And I am a Protestant, so although, what do we call it? Protestant light? No, Catholic light, because I guess I follow more of a Lutheran. I was baptized Lutheran. I haven't been confirmed in the church, but I'm definitely in the Lutheran tradition. So Catholic light is what we're called. The Popes Against the Protestants. I picked this up for probably $6-7 at Hamilton Book. They always have a wonderful selection. Gosh, I've got just a variety of different things. There's no rhyme or reason to any of these. They all looked interesting and fascinating. This is a big, hefty book. And who doesn't love a little JFK? Especially, and this is appropriate today. It's November 22nd. It's the anniversary of JFK's assassination, unfortunately. So I timed this book all right. This is Ultimate Sacrifice. John and Robert Kennedy, The Plan for a Coup in Cuba, and the Murder of JFK by Lamar Waldron with Tom Hartman. This is put out by Carroll and Graf Publishing, but look, it's a pretty substantial book. It's 900 pages. Let's see here. There's a lot to cover in this one, but I'll just try to read this quickly. Okay. Obviously, it talks about how, like, JFK captured the imagination of Americans, and myth and conjecture have swirled around him, his life and his work. Nonetheless, the secret with the most profound and catastrophic impact on America has remained hidden. Okay, so Ultimate Sacrifice reveals this secret for the first time, providing the missing piece to one of the great puzzles of post-war America. The truth behind the events surrounding JFK's assassination on November 22nd, 1963. They all promised that, but we'll see. So Ultimate Sacrifice reveals, color me circumspect. Ultimate Sacrifice reveals a previously unknown plan for a coup in Cuba, authorized by John Kennedy and run by the president's brother, Attorney General Robert Kennedy. The CIA's code name for their supporting role in the coup plan, AmWorld, that's the code name, AmWorld, has never previously surfaced in any book, article, or government investigation, consistent with one of the most secret covert operations in our history. And with that secrecy came tragedy. A plan as audacious as this engineered coup and its follow-up invasion by invited U.S. forces would have been a severe threat to national security if revealed in the post-Cuban Missile Crisis environment. And when Carlos Marcello, Santo Trafficante, and Johnny Roselli, three powerful mafia dons who would have gone to any lengths to rid themselves of what they saw to be persecution by the mob-busting Attorney General, learned of this plan, they realized that the government would go to equally audacious lengths in order to avoid revealing it to the public. With that knowledge to protect them, the seeds of a president's demise were sown. So what are we going back to now? The mafia did it. I don't know. 17 years in the making, drawing on exclusive interviews with members of the Kennedy administration and of the Kennedy's Cuban inner circle, among dozens of others, complementing the information mined from thousands of recently declassified files, Ultimate Sacrifice is a landmark in historical research, compilation, and reporting meticulously assembling all of the formerly out of reach or concealed pieces to explain for the first time the full and detailed context which gave rise to the Kennedy assassination. In doing so, authors Lamar Waldron and Tom Hartman not only shed new light on one of the most tumultuous eras in modern American history, but definitively solve the mystery of its greatest political tragedy. Well, I don't remember this book making any news, so I don't know. This came out... Okay, sorry. I thought this was a newer book, but it's not. It was 2005, and I don't recall any brown people saying we've solved the mystery of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. But it might have some other information in here about things that I wasn't aware of this plan for a coup in Cuba. So if you've always been interested in the Kennedys, and especially the Kennedy assassination in Cuba, it just seemed like a really good book to pick up on the topic. Well, we'll see how good it is. But anyway, I picked it up from Hamilton Book, probably for like $5. $5 to $10, depending on how recent the book is. So check it out if you're interested. All right, and then I've been meaning to get this book for a while. This is The Sinner and the Saint, Dostoevsky and the Gentleman Murderer Who Inspired a Masterpiece by Kevin Birmingham. I like getting hardcovers, so that's where I go to find like relatively recent books. Just hit my glasses. For hardcovers, I go to Hamilton Book, because eventually, usually within a couple of years of a book coming out, it'll be marked down on Hamilton. And this book came out in 2021. And what's it about? Well, I'll tell you. The Sinner and the Saint is the deeply researched and immersive tale of how Dostoevsky came to write Crime and Punishment and why it changed the world. As a young man, Dostoevsky was a celebrated writer, but his involvement with the radical politics of his day condemned him to a long Siberian exile. There, he spent years studying the criminals who were his companions. Upon his return to St. Petersburg in the 1860s, he fought his way through multiple hardships, such as gambling addiction, debilitating debt, epilepsy, the death of loved ones, and literary banishment, to craft an enduring classic. All right, so the germ of Crime and Punishment came from the sensational story of Pierre-François Lacenaire, a notorious murderer who charmed and outraged Paris in the 1830s. Lacenaire was a glamorous egoist who embodied the instincts that lie beneath nihilism, a Western-influenced philosophy inspiring a new generation of Russian revolutionaries. Dostoevsky began creating a Russian incarnation of Lacenaire, a character who could demonstrate the errors of radical politics and ideas. His name would be, can you guess, Raskolnikov. Lacenaire shaped Raskolnikov in profound ways, but the deeper insight, as Birmingham shows, is that Raskolnikov began to merge with Dostoevsky. The novelist was determined to tell a murder story from the murderer's perspective, but his character couldn't be a monster. No, the murderer would be chilling because he wants so desperately to be good. The writing consumed Dostoevsky. As his debts and the predatory terms of his contract caught up with him, he hired a stenographer so that he could dictate the final chapters in time. Anna Grigorievna Snitkina became Dostoevsky's first reader and chief critic, and she changed the way he wrote forever. By the time Dostoevsky finished his great novel, he had fallen in love. Crime and Punishment advanced a revolution in the way we understand consciousness in the modern world, and it began the greatest phase of Dostoevsky's career. The Sinner and the Saint now gives us the thrilling and definitive story of that triumph. So that sounds just so engrossing, and I look forward to this. The Sinner and the Saint by Kevin Birmingham. All right. Oh, look, I should have maybe shown this one too. This kind of goes along with the Kennedys and Cuba interest that I have. And this is one book on that topic I do not have. And it has just key primary source data material in here, which I think is just handy to have for research purposes. And this is the Kennedys and Cuba, the Declassified Documentary History. Revised edition, edited with commentary by Mark J. White. This was put out by Ivan R.D. Publisher out of Chicago. Says here, in this revised edition, when did this come out? I think 2001. So nothing newer since then, as far as declassified materials. Although, well, I think Ultimate Sacrifice probably uses a lot of this stuff anyway. It says here, in documents drawn from the State Department, the Kennedy Library, private papers, and the Assassination Records Review Board, and including newly released materials, mind you, this was done around the turn of the 21st century, Mark White traces the attitudes and actions of John and Robert Kennedy in their fateful dealings with Fidel Castro's Cuba. With his selection and commentary, Mr. White has constructed a virtual narrative which allows the reader to see, through the documents, how the Cuba story developed to the Bay of Pigs fiasco, the terrifying missile crisis, and beyond. The book makes clear that the Kennedys' fervent desire was to oust Castro by any means possible short of all-out war. Yet, in JFK's last days, as Mr. White reveals, the U.S. signaled some movement toward rapprochement. This revised edition of the Kennedys in Cuba includes source notes for each of the documents. So, just for the price, again, it was super cheap. $5 or $6. I thought it would be useful to have, like I said, all of the primary source notes and material. Kennedys in Cuba. All right. Let's go over here. Now we're going to jump over to, here's another book by Ivan R.D. Publishers. And this one's on Vietnam. This looked really good. So I just wanted to pick up None So Blind, a personal account of the intelligence failure in Vietnam by George W. Alien? That's because I was watching the Netflix series that just dropped about a week ago or so, the Investigation Alien with George Knapp. I've been going down as far as like listening while I'm working. I listen to not only nuns singing Gregorian chants, but I started tuning into old episodes of the Art Bell show, Coast to Coast. Love Art Bell and George Knapp, big alien investigative reporter. And of course all the hearings going on Capitol Hill about the UAPs and stuff. That's where Alien came from. Okay, George W. Allen. So None So Blind. Again, another book by Ivan R.D. I like that little, what do you call that? Watermark of the author's initials in there. Anyway, let's do this. From the first large-scale Viet Minh offensive against the French in 1950 to the fall of Saigon in 1975, the United States tried desperately to understand the nature of the fierce communist-led struggle to create a unified, independent Vietnam. Even before its military involvement and through the years of combat, American intelligence played a key role in gathering information on the political and military situation in Vietnam and on the strengths and weaknesses of both sides. But, as George Allen shows in this eye-popping memoir, intelligence appraisals were consistently discounted, ignored, and rejected by policymakers in every administration from Eisenhower to Nixon, because these assessments undermined the mistaken assumptions of the White House, the State Department, and the Pentagon. Few Americans knew more about the inner workings of Washington's Vietnam War policy over as long a period of time as George Allen did. A World War II Navy veteran, he went to work as a Defense Department intelligence analyst after the war and later switched to the CIA, where he served until his retirement in 1979. He spent virtually all of that time in Vietnam and Washington, compiling first-hand intelligence on the French and American wars. From his unique vantage point, Mr. Allen reveals specifically how American leaders, unwilling to face up to bad news from intelligence sources, largely excluded intelligence appraisals from important policy deliberations until it was too late. He names the names of those officials who refused to confront reality, who instead preferred to make their own strategic and tactical decisions, nearly all of which were doomed. In its inside view, its recitation of facts, and its powerful argument, None So Blind is a remarkable contribution to the history of the Vietnam War. Now, I think in one of my last like new history arrivals videos, I showed you there's a new big bodacious history on the Vietnam War by Jeffrey Warrow. But I love memoirs, and I love people who have been, like this says, he was on the inside. And I just wanted to read this guy's memoir. It sounds really good. The personal account of intelligence failure in Vietnam. None So Blind by George W. Allen. Not Alien. Ooh, now we got a big beefy book here. This is from Princeton University Press. Marked down on Hamilton book, if you can believe it. It is about almost 700 pages. What do we have here? We have The Last Muslim Conquest. The Ottoman Empire and Its Wars in Europe by Gabor Augustin. Let's look at that big boy. Woo! Let's see here. The Ottomans have long been viewed as despots who conquered through sheer military might and whose dynasty was peripheral to those of Europe. The Last Muslim Conquest transforms our understanding of the Ottoman Empire, showing how Ottoman statecraft was far more pragmatic and sophisticated than previously acknowledged, and how the Ottoman dynasty was a crucial player in the power struggles of early modern Europe. In this panoramic and multifaceted book, Gabor Augustin captures the grand sweep of Ottoman history from the dynasty's stunning rise to power at the turn of the 14th century to the siege of Vienna in 1683, which brought an end to Ottoman incursions into Central Europe. He discusses how the Ottoman wars of conquest gave rise to the imperial rivalry with the Habsburgs and brings vividly to life the intrigues of sultans, kings, popes, and spies. Augustin examines the subtler methods of Ottoman conquests, such as dynastic marriages and the incorporation of conquered peoples into the Ottoman administration, and argues that while the Ottoman Empire was shaped by Turkish, Iranian, and Islamic influences, it was also an integral part of Europe and was in many ways a European empire. Interesting. So, nice addition to my... I've got a pretty healthy selection of books on the Ottomans, the Ottoman Empire, the decline and fall of the Ottoman Empire. So I wanted to add this to my collection. I was very happy to do so. And speaking of Habsburgs, I have been waiting for this, another Princeton University Press behemoth of a book. I was waiting for the price to drop to my liking. And and you want to talk big. This one breaks that 1,000, doesn't it? It sure does. 1,045 pages. Oof, this is a biggie. Bam, baby. Maria Teresa, the Habsburg Empress in Her Time. Translated by Robert Savage from Barbara Stolberg Rillinger. I didn't realize this book was a work of history that was translated. That's a lot of work. Look at this bad boy. Whoa. Maria Teresa. I don't know much about her, but I really wanted to, I heard good things across BookTube when this book came out, which was a few years ago now. 2021. What I wanted to learn more about her. So Maria Teresa, she lived from 1717 to 1780, was once the most powerful woman in Europe. At the age of 23, she ascended to the throne of the Habsburg Empire, a far-flung realm composed of diverse ethnicities and languages, beset on all sides by enemies and rivals. Barbara Stolberg Rillinger provides the definitive biography, whatever. It's been a long week. She provides the definitive biography, and if this isn't definitive, I don't know what else you could say. I think she probably... I don't know how much there is to say, but apparently there's a lot. She provides the definitive biography of Maria Teresa, situating this exceptional empress within her time while dispelling the myths surrounding her. Drawing on a wealth of archival evidence Stolberg-Rillinger examines all facets of 18th century society, from piety and patronage to sexuality and childcare, ceremonial life at court, diplomacy, and the everyday indignities of warfare. She challenges the idealized image of Maria Teresa as an enlightened reformer and mother of her lands who embodied both feminine beauty and virile bellicosity, showing how she despised the ideas of the Enlightenment, treated her children with relentless austerity, and mercilessly persecuted Protestants and Jews. Work, consistent physical and mental discipline, and fear of God were the principles Maria Teresa lived by. And she demanded the same from her family, her court, and her subjects. The panoramic work of scholarship that brings Europe's age of empire spectacularly to life. Maria Teresa paints an unforgettable portrait of the uncompromising yet singularly charismatic woman who left her enduring mark on the era in which she lived and reigned. So, this is going to be an undertaking when I decide to start reading this one. Obviously, a wealth of color inserts. Beautiful book. Just gorgeous. There's at least 4 separate areas in the book where there are either artwork or color photos. It's amazing. This is a beautiful, wow, this just goes on forever. It is big. Maybe I can try to slot this in for next year sometime. But yeah, it's a big read. But the price got down to what I could afford, so I decided to pick it up. All right. Let me skip over to a little soft paperback book that I just really encourage many of you to pick up because I loved it and it turned me on to new books, new writers that I had never heard of before. And I had read this from an ARC, an advanced review copy, and I just decided I really just want a finished copy for myself, and it was like $2.95 on Hamilton Books. It was a no-brainer. This was a fantastic book. This is The Double Life of Katherine Clark, the untold story of the fearless journalist who risked her life for truth and justice by Catherine Gregorio. This was put out by Source Books. This was amazing. I think I reviewed this for Shelf Awareness, but this came out in 2022. If I can find the link to my review, I'll put it below in the description box. And if YouTube will allow me to link to an outside source, I think it will. I don't know. In 1955. Well, first of all, I should say that this is the true story of the trailblazing reporter who risked her life to expose the truth about communism to the world. Okay. In 1955, Katherine Clark, the first American woman wire reporter behind the Iron Curtain, saw something none of her male colleagues did. What followed became one of the most unusual adventure stories of the Cold War. While on assignment in Belgrade, Yugoslavia, Clark befriended a man who, by many definitions, was her enemy. But she saw something in Milovan Djilas, a high-ranking communist leader who dared to question the ideology he helped establish. That made her want to work with him. It became the assignment of her lifetime. Against the backdrop of protests in Poland and a revolution in Hungary, she risked her life to ensure Djilas's work made it past the watchful eye of the Yugoslavian secret police to the west. She single-handedly was responsible for smuggling his scathing anti-communism manifesto, The New Class, out of Yugoslavia and into the hands of American publishers. The New Class would go on to sell 3 million copies worldwide, became a New York Times bestseller, was translated into over 60 languages, and be used by the CIA in its covert book program. And what's interesting about this author, she is Katherine Clark's great niece. Written by her great niece, this is meticulously researched and illuminates a largely untold chapter of the 20th century. It shows how a strong-willed, fiercely independent woman with an ardent commitment to truth, justice, and freedom put her life on the line to share ideas with the world, ultimately transforming both herself and history in the process. Yeah, Katherine Clark was just... I was so fascinated by just her willingness to undertake such dangerous work. you get an insight into Milovan Djilas's, and his last name is spelled Djilas. So I'm assuming the D is silent, but I just pronounce it Djilas, Milovan Djilas. Because of this book, I went out and started looking for the new class. I found some other works by Milovan Djilas. I think New Lies for Old, or Old Lies for, something like that. And anyway, but this book and the bibliography is incredible. I really appreciated just it was kind of written almost like spy thrillerish, like I think she kind of made up, or she imagined some dialogue here and there, but it's a really great read. The Double Life of Katherine Clark. You should check it out, guys. I highly recommend. Anyway, I wanted to get a keeper for my library. I'm going to put this book next to the Milovan Djilas books that I picked up used along the way, and I'm going to reread that at some point. That's how much I liked it. Oh, I should have included this book when I was showing the first book in this book haul about the popes and the Protestants. So, and I've heard of David Cser, and I think he also has a blurb on the popes and the Protestants book. But this is David Cser's book, The Pope at War: The Secret History of Pius XII, Mussolini, and Hitler. This was put up by Random House. And this book came out, oh wow, (2022). Okay. Let's do this. When Pope Pius XII died in 1958, his papers were sealed in the Vatican secret archives, leaving unanswered questions about what he knew and did during World War II. Those questions have only grown and festered, making Pius XII one of the most controversial popes in church history, especially now as the Vatican prepares to canonize him. In 2020, Pius XII's archives were finally opened, and David I. Cser, widely recognized as one of the world's leading Vatican scholars, has been mining this new material ever since, revealing how the Pope came to set aside moral leadership in order to preserve his church's power. Based on thousands of never-before-seen documents, not only from the Vatican, but from archives in Italy, Germany, France, Britain, and the U.S., The Pope at War paints a new dramatic portrait of what the Pope did and did not do as war enveloped the continent and as the Nazis began their systematic mass murder of Europe's Jews. The book clears away any myths and sheer falsehoods surrounding the Pope's actions from 1939 to 1945, showing why the Pope repeatedly bent to the wills of Hitler and Mussolini. Oh, that's right. I have his other book, The Pope and Mussolini. Okay, so just as Cser's Pulitzer Prize winning The Pope and Mussolini became the definitive book on Pope Pius XI and the fascist regime, The Pope at War is destined to become the most influential account of his successor, Pius XII, and his relations with Mussolini and Hitler. Cser shows why no full understanding of the course of World War II is complete without knowledge of the dramatic behind-the-scenes role played by the Pope. Wow. Oh, now check this out. You find things out when you read the dust jacket blurbs and stuff. All right, so remember how I showed you this one, Kevin Madigan? Yeah, and David Cser is blurbed on the back there. Well, guess who's blurbed in this? Kevin Madigan. This remarkably research book is replete with revelations that deserve the adjective explosive, says Kevin Madigan, Wynne Professor of Ecclesiastical History at Harvard University. The Pope at War is a masterpiece, he says. So people be sharing blurbs in this community. So there's Kevin Madigan's blurb for this one, and then David Cser's blurb for this one. So I've got two books on the popes in wartime. Boom. Let's go with this. This one is another big behemoth of a book. It has a very interesting premise. I don't know what this reading experience is going to be like. I don't know what to expect, but I was kind of titillated, kind of intrigued by the description, and it was like $6, so I said, let's do it. So I picked up Dan Gretton's I, You, We, Them, Walking into the World of the Desk Killer, Volume 1. Now, of course, this came out, this is from Farrar, Straus and Giroux Publishers. So this book came out in 2019. Now, I haven't seen a Volume 2 anywhere, but it is a big, big, thick book. Okay, we're talking big. So what about this book captured my, I don't know, it's different. Vast and revelatory. Dan Gretton's I, You, We, Them is an unprecedented study of the perpetrators of crimes against humanity, the quote-unquote desk killers who ordered and directed some of the worst atrocities of the modern era. From Albert Speer's complicity in Nazi barbarism to Royal Dutch Shell's role in the murders of the Nigerian activist Ken Saro-Wiwa, and the rest of the Ogoni Nine. I don't know who those people are, but I'll find out. Gretton probes the depths of the figure who, by giving orders, uses paper or a phone or a computer to kill instead of a gun. Over the past 20 years, Gretton has interviewed survivors and perpetrators and pored over archives and thousands of pages of testimony. His insight into the psychology of the desk killer is contextualized by the journey he took to penetrate it. Woven into the narrative are his contemplative interludes, perspectives gleaned during walks in the woods, reminiscences about a lost love, and considerations of timeless moral conundrums. The result, and this is where I'm saying it's a very hard to categorize book, the result is a genre-bending work steeped as much in personal reflection as it is in literature and historical and psychological illumination. So there's, like I said, there's a lot of different things going on at a lot of different levels in this book. A synthesis of history, reportage, and memoir, I, You, We, Them, is the first volume of a groundbreaking journal of discovery that bears witness to and reckons with the largest and most pressing questions before humanity. They still might have copies of this at Hamilton Book if you're interested. Just type in I, You, We, Them, or Dan Gretton's name. You'll see what's left, if they have it in stock still. Yeah, it's just one of those books where it's so different. You just kind of want to check it out. It's almost, to me, in a way, I want to say slightly reminiscent of like William T. Vollmann. Yeah, from what I've already kind of skimmed through, that's the closest analogy I could make. Like book 1 is about journeys into the world of the desk killer, mapping the past, walking through time. Book 2, silence and speaking. What are some of the events he's got in here? It's wild. In part 3 of book 2, he's got the violence of my country, and he's got a 14-page chapter on a question from Günter Grass, who wrote the Tin Drum. The British famine. Oh, he approaches that one. Slaughters done in Ireland by mere official red tape. Ooh, Martine might be interested in this one. Because I've read things about like the potato famine was intentional by like the British caused it because they wanted to kill off the Irish. I wonder if that's what this one is about, the British famine. I mean, there's a lot in here, guys. You could just, I guess, just jump around if you wanted. There's a lot of photographs and maps. Got Namibia. There's a map of Namibia. Okay, so I mean, this is just a cornucopia of stuff in here. We got so this could easily, you can pass a whole day away just going, wild hours away going through this book, but it sounds really interesting. So I wanted to get it. Look at that stack. Okay, 40 minutes. I got to hurry up. Let's finish up with one more dark book. Another Princeton University Press book that was marked down on Hamilton book. And this is In Hitler's Munich, Jews, the Revolution, and the Rise of Nazism by Michael Brenner. All right. Not too big of a book here. This one came out 2022. In the aftermath of Germany's defeat in World War I and the failed November Revolution of 1918-19, the conservative government of Bavaria identified Jews with left-wing radicalism. Munich became a hotbed of right-wing extremism, with synagogues under attack and Jews physically assaulted in the streets. It was here that Adolf Hitler established the Nazi movement and developed his anti-Semitic ideas. Michael Brenner provides a gripping account of how Bavaria's capital city became the testing ground for Nazism and the final solution. In an electrifying narrative that takes readers from Hitler's return to Munich following the armistice to his calamitous beer hall putsch in 1923, Brenner demonstrates why the city's transformation is crucial for understanding the Nazi era and the tragedy of the Holocaust. Brenner describes how Hitler and his followers terrorized Munich's Jews and were aided by politicians, judges, police, and ordinary residents. He shows how the city's Jews responded to the anti-Semitic backlash in many different ways, by declaring their loyalty to the state, by avoiding public life, or by abandoning the city altogether. Drawing on a wealth of previously unknown documents, In Hitler's Munich reveals the untold story of how a once cosmopolitan city became, in the words of German novelist Thomas Mann, the city of Hitler. So again, this is just going to add to my my understanding and my collection of books. The Rise of Nazism, and just the city of Munich itself, and what role they kind of played in supporting that. So, fairly recent edition from Princeton University Press. All right. And I could have sworn I had this book when I was looking at the description online, and I was like, and then I kind of browsed my my shelves. I'm like, this is one book I've seen, but I never put the money down for. And with a couple of recent books I've read on Teddy Roosevelt, one of them being the there's the fiction book that Jeff Shaara wrote, The Old Lion. But I just finished reading something about Teddy Roosevelt. But anyway, it just kind of takes me back. I'm really interested in the Roosevelt clan. Oh, I remember, because I was reading about Alice Roosevelt, his daughter, and she was a firecracker. But anyway, I thought, for $5, I was like, I need to get this in my collection. And this is The Wars of the Roosevelts. The Ruthless Rise of America's Greatest Political Family by William J. Mann. This is put out by HarperCollins Books. Again, you can just get so many great books, hardcovers at Hamilton Book for less than $10, if that is within your budget. And some of them, they'll mark down that they will. This makes me want to. I need to get rid of some books off my shelf so I can just. I want to buy a few more books from Hamilton Book. I just do. I really want to make another purchase. I love Hamilton Book. That's the dilemma of being a bibliophile. You just love to shop and to look and see what's out there. But anyway, this one gets so many awesome photographs. And there's Alice. Where is she? Right there. That saucy little, feisty little lady. Oh yeah, there she is. Princess Alice was the first teenage celebrity, prompting an Alice mania across the country. Look at her. She's like, yeah, I'm owning it. What? What? I love it. I love that look. So imperious. Okay, so this book, drawing on previously hidden historical documents and interviews with the long silent, illegitimate branch of the family. Okay, I don't know why I just made myself laugh, and now I'm thinking of something else that's making me laugh. Okay, award-winning author William J. Mann paints an elegant, meticulously researched, and groundbreaking group portrait of this legendary family. Sorry. Okay. I'm sorry, I was just thinking of some other funny things that this triggered. Mann definitely argues that the Roosevelts' rise to power and prestige was actually driven by a series of intense personal contests that at times devolved into blood sport. His compelling and eye-opening masterwork is the story of a family at war with itself, and of social Darwinism at its most ruthless, in which the strong devoured the weak and repudiated the inconvenient. Central to the wars of the Roosevelts is a fascinating alternate picture of Eleanor Roosevelt. Yes, let's get an alternate portrait of Eleanor Roosevelt, who, Mann argues, experienced this brutality firsthand. And she really did. I feel bad for the young Eleanor. I mean, just all her life. I do. I do love Eleanor Roosevelt, even though I disagree with some of the things that, whatever. I really do. I liked her. I liked her. I can say that. She had to put up with some shit. Ooh. Beep. So central is a fascinating alternate picture of Eleanor Roosevelt, who experienced this brutality firsthand, witnessing her uncle Theodore cruelly destroy her father Eliot, Theodore's brother and bitter rival, for political expediency. I think, now, wasn't Eliot her father? Didn't he die of alcoholism? Or he was, let me see here. This worshipful niece, Mann contends, in fact, bore a grudge against TR for the rest of her life, and I don't blame her. In addition, Eleanor's intimate relationships with both men and women are handled here with a sensibility grounded in 21st century awareness. Oh, what does that mean? Basically, that's code for we're going to talk about her with her gay friend, her gay relationship. Whatever. Sensibility, okay, grounded in, okay, without any obfuscations, explanations, or labels. Okay, yeah, great. Let's not use labels. From this deeply affecting family portrait, a new understanding of Eleanor, as well as of her relationship with Franklin, emerges. Mann also brilliantly brings into focus Eleanor's cousins, TR's children, Alice, Ted, and Kermit, whose stories propelled the family rivalry, especially once Franklin became president, but have never before been fully chronicled. So this is going to be a catty, fun read. Because we've all dealt with this. If you have a big family and you've got cousins, who hasn't had one of these things, it's just family drama. And it's better when you're reading about some other family. And you're not dealing with your own family's drama. Okay. We also learn for the first time the story of Eleanor's illegitimate half-brother, Eliot Roosevelt Mann. Same last name as the author, who inherited his family's ambition and skills without their name and privilege, and whom TR did his best to exile. Well, let's see if there's any relation there. Maybe not. Illustrated with never-before-seen photographs from Eliot's archives, The Wars of the Roosevelts is a deeply psychological and finely rendered history, illuminating not only the enviable strengths, but also the profound shame of this remarkable and influential family. Immediately I'm going to the photos. Now I want to see never-before-seen. Aww. I don't think I've seen this one of Alice and her daughter Paulina. Oh, look at that. So there she is, the one who was saying, what? I'm the glamour girl. Now she's a little baby right there. Kermit. Look at these guys. Eleanor and Franklin with the babies. Look at these guys. I love it. If you're an American and you love history, you gotta have books on your shelves about the Roosevelts. You just have to. And this is one that sounds this is going to be really a lot of fun. Okay, I took enough time on that. Like 10 minutes talking about that book. All right, 50-minute video. Wow. Oh, I've been wanting to read this more like current events, but it came out in 2017. This is Bully of Asia: Why China's Dream is the New Threat to World Order by Stephen W. Mosher, with a new preface by the author. I have another book by Stephen Mosher, and I saw a podcast where he was talking about this book and on YouTube, and I wanted to check it out. It says, in a world bristling with dangers, only one enemy poses a truly mortal challenge to the U.S. and the peaceful and prosperous world that it guarantees. That enemy is the People's Republic of China. Stephen Mosher exposes the roots of China's ambitions in its 5,000-year history of ruthless conquest and assimilation of other nations, brutal repression of its own people, and belligerence toward any civilization that challenges its claim to superiority. Engagement with the Chinese Communist Party is a fool's dream, argues Mosher, who knows China as few Westerners do. Having exposed its monstrous practice of forced abortions, he became the target of the regime's crushing retaliation. His encyclopedic grasp of China's history, his insight into its contemporary politics, and his bracing realism are the antidote to our dangerous confusion about the bully of Asia. So it's really timely, and I want to understand more. I've got a pretty large shelf of books on China, and this is one I wanted to add to it. So I was glad to find this at Hamilton Book. Final book, and it's a graphic novel. I wanted to include this with some others I was going to purchase from Naval Institute Press to kind of show you that there are different ways to read history, and I still might order that set. But I think there's something to be said for graphic novels, especially when it comes to history and war, because this can really dramatize just how harrowing it can be and was. And this is Stalingrad, Letters from the Volga, by Antonio Gill and Daniel Ortega, translated by Jeff Whitman. Very slim book, and this is put out by Dead Reckoning, which they do a line of graphic novels, but this is some powerful stuff. Letters from the Volga. So it says here, Stalingrad, from August 1942 to February 1943. This model industrial city, bathed by the waters of the Volga, was home to the bloodiest battle of World War II. This book offers a fast-paced depiction of this titanic struggle, explicit, crude, and without concessions, just as the war and the memory of all those involved demands. The battle rendered devastating results. Almost 2 million human beings were marked forever in its crosshairs, a frightening figure comprising the dead, injured, sick, captured, and missing. Military personnel and civilians alike paid with their lives for the personal fight between Stalin and Hitler, which materialized in long months of primitive conflict among the smoking ruins of Stalingrad and its surroundings. Stalingrad, Letters from the Volga, presents the battle, beginning to end, through the eyes of Russian and German soldiers. Take a chronological tour of the massacre, relive the fights, and feel the drama of trying to survive in a relentless hell of ice and snow. I'll show you just a few, like the artwork is stunning. I really enjoyed. I mean, there's some pages of text that give you like the history, but this stuff is just powerful. Let's see if it'll focus. Wow. Okay. There's something to be said for the graphic novel that can just, and if you're trying to get like a youngster, not too young because some of the stuff is very dark, but history is just, and even for the old hands at history like me, and you've been reading history all your life, it's a new way to experience history, are these graphic novels. And like I said, there's a bunch of others I've seen at Naval Institute Press that are on clearance, and I really think I want to get them, even though I've kind of been doing the self-imposed book buying ban of sorts, with a few exceptions. Oh, and there's some really kick-ass maps going on in there too. But Stalingrad, I saw this one on the Hamilton book, so I grabbed it, but there are others from Dead Reckoning that I want to pick up as well. So let me know what you think of all these guys. I've got a ton here. So that was almost an hour-long book haul. I know you guys have missed book hauls, and Hamilton book probably especially, because it's hard to shop at Hamilton book without coming away with 20-plus books, and that's just how it is. So I've got to go find room on my shelves in the parlor downstairs for these. But in the meantime, let me know what jumped out to you. Like, did I turn you on to something new? Are you going to go to Hamilton Book? Are you going to look for that book? Did you find it? Are you going to order it? I'm telling you, I get no commissions. I'm just fascinated by this. I just love to know if I've helped someone find a book that just they're excited about getting. it just, I don't know, it gives me a thrill. Call me weird, call me kooky. Okay, guys, I've got to go now. I've got to get this uploaded. I've got to run to the post office to mail some books out to some lucky viewers out there. But in the meantime, happy Friday, and I will be back soon with more videos. Can you believe it? Next week is Thanksgiving. What? All right, guys. Till next time, thanks for tuning in at the History Shelf. I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.